Memphis, Tennessee. Beautiful, diverse, southern. It's hard to think of Memphis without thinking about music. While it's home to the birthplace of rock and roll, out of Memphis culture grew a community that loves blues, gospel, jazz, rap, R&B, soul, sports, and delicious barbecue. A bit south of the heart of Memphis and stretching from Midtown and downtown to the Mississippi state line stands one of the oldest communities of this grand city, Riverside, South Memphis. While most focus on the accomplishments of Memphis as a whole, this new podcast, Riverside in Review, sheds light on the incredible names and achievements that have sprung from this significant community in the South. Some you may know and some you may not. From the musical greats like the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha Franklin, to impactful politicians like Benjamin Hooks. On this podcast, we will discuss them all and more. So join me, your host, Demetrius Smith, as I, through in-depth conversations, explore the soul and the soulful history of Riverside, South Memphis. You may ask, why a podcast? Or better yet, why a podcast about South Memphis? The answer for me is simple. It's long overdue. If we allow the local and national media to give us a snapshot of who we are, we will only see crime and poverty. But I know that Riverside, South Memphis is much more than that. While I can admit crime in our city is out of control, we should not accept this one-sided view of who we are. I know that despite the problems facing our community, there are several individuals from among our ranks who are doing tremendous work within and outside of the community. These individuals have garnered considerable momentum, contributing to positive societal influence. Unfortunately, their endeavors go largely unnoticed, since, in my opinion, they don't have the benefit of powerful media to highlight their hard work and accomplishments. Why not create a platform where these individuals can be seen and heard, a place where through an in-depth conversation about the community's rich historical significance and the work of these dedicated individuals, the narrative can shift and we can get a closer, more intimate picture of Riverside, South Memphis.
Hey, baby, what you doing tonight? I'm in town for a little while and I bet you're feeling lonely.
G, I will lean big mowing as I'm seeing things. I can see notes while I'm on my knee. Boy, you ain't never seen a
Welcome to Riverside in Review, the podcast that brings you inspiring interviews with remarkable individuals who have made significant progress in the world of social politics, business, entertainment, and beyond. I am your host, Demetrius Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a distinct honor to introduce a luminary in the hip-hop world, the Screwed Up Click, Heime Bradshaw. With nearly 4 decades shaping the Texas and American hip-hop scenes from the streets of South Memphis to the heart of Houston. Heime's profound influence resonates through his local and international successes. An accomplished producer and artist, he has birthed 6 platinum and 8 gold independent LPs, leaving his mark with over 20 top 100 positions on the Billboard charts, including 4 number 1 placements. Heime's storied career is studded with accolades, from the Houston Legacy Award to an honorary recognition from Rice University for his contribution to the first 25 years of Houston hip-hop. His collaborative roster reads like a who's who of the industry, having worked with icons like the Ghetto Boys, Destiny's Child, UGK, and Paul Wall, among many others. His artistic prowess extends beyond production. With 7 albums released and a myriad of singles, Heime continues to invigorate the music scene. His Southern Soul project, Eargasm Soul, has captivated audiences with over 100,000 views and streams, and his urban hip-hop single, The H Is So Real, resonates on Houston's Radio 1 97.9 The Box. Beyond the microphone, Heime's talents have graced the silver screen, contributing to 5 movies and 2 commercials. His vibrant presence in viral videos, including Willie D's Cleanup Man and Paul Wall's Swaggin' in the Rain, underscores his enduring vigor and dynamism, a true force. At 58, Heime Bradshaw embodies the indefatigable spirit of hip-hop, outperforming and outdancing every generation. Join us in welcoming the unstoppable Screwed Up Click, Mr. Heime Bradshaw. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Yeah. Man, that was so eloquently put, man. I really appreciate it, little bro.
Way back, and that's exactly where I wanted to start. I think I met you, I was probably 5 years old, and I remember you.
Might have been 4.
Might have been 4. And I just remember you entertaining us on that duplex next door to our home. Man, you would do those Michael Jackson moves better than Michael Jackson. You know, we would sit there and watch you, you know what I'm saying, for hours performing. And I feel like I know, you know, bits and pieces because I've known you so long. But when I read your resume, I was like, oh, it's so much I don't know about what this brother has done, you know, since Kansas Street, you know what I mean? So just give us, man, you know, how did you get started just performing? I know you've been performing since you was a little kid, but, you know, take us, you know, through that. Bring us up to date.
Well, you know, of course, we started performing in my grandma cafe in Senatobia, Mississippi when I was like 3. You know, doing James Brown, had fake mics. She made me a mic out of broomstick, and that's when I started. So when I, you know, of course, when I was in Memphis, you know, I won the Carver High School citywide talent show. That's when I really realized that's what I really.
And I didn't know that. You graduated from Carver what year?
No, I was in 11th grade when I left, and I graduated actually out here at Booker T. Washington. Which you know that was hard for me to go to Booker T. Washington. You know, that's for people in M-Town that know. That's you know what I'm talking about. It was hard for me to switch over. Thank God their color was blue and gold instead of green and gold, because I hate wearing green. But yeah, so you know that was difficult. But you know, I'm actually still back, you know, at Riverview Junior High when I did What You Want to Do for Love by Caldwell during Sweetheart Ball time, you know. That's actually when I really realized this is what I really want to do. And that's in the 8th grade. So, you know, of course, moving on, I did so much. We worked so much out there. I had a first group called Prestige out there in Fowler Homes when we moved out that way. Still, you know, I still was going to Carver High School. Then when I moved, my mom moved us out. Came out here around 16, almost 17. My mom, when she moved me to Houston, and the first thing I was in the talent show when I got out here, Booker T. Washington. When I did that, you know, getting booed, taught me that, hey, man, perfect your skills. Went on and won the next 2 years talent shows. And on the last talent show of my 12th grade year, they actually put my name on the poster. You know, you'll never do that in the talent show. They actually said, it's going to have, you know, at the time, you know, James Bradshaw, you know what I'm saying? James Prince Bradshaw. So after that, you know, when I left, when we got out of high school, I ended up cutting my first record in 1985 in Houston, which is called It's Good. And it's also sitting on the desk, go through preliminaries to be the first rap slow song in hip hop, you know what I'm saying? With a rap, you know, singing hook and stuff. So we Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we're really hoping that goes through and, you know, we get our, you know, credit for that. And from that on, I just started, you know, doing my own thing and switched up and started doing, you know, of course, I ended up doing Cleanup Man with Willie D. And that's when everybody from Memphis realized, you know, and they talked, you know, even Rick Kendall, shouts out to him, and Michael Thomas, you know, and Eric, you know what I'm saying? They all said, hey, man, that boy been doing that. They were very proud of me for the Cleanup Man. Went on to sell 3 million copies. Went all the way up to number 4 in the soul charts and number 9 in the top 100 charts. So we, you know, from that point on, the bite was there, and I was ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, from that point on, I've been doing music. 38 years now, almost 39.
It's funny you mentioned the Cleanup Man because that was my first time seeing you on television. And I remember trying to convince people, hey, I know him. You know what I mean? And people were like, you don't know him. You know, I said, man, I remember when he was 10 and he was doing this and that, you know. It was a hard sell, but I was...
Yeah, your mom was like my auntie, your auntie was like my auntie. We, you know, we grew up, you know, playing and chilling and having...
And Monday Night Wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum, boy, you were a big Jerry Lawler fan. I remember that.
I went to the... That's right. That was the first time. I forgot about that. I forgot about that. That was the first time I went to wrestling in Memphis. So,
and just being so young, who was influencing you? What musicians were you looking up to, you know, at that age, at 3 and 4 and 5?
Well, you know, James Brown. James Brown was like the epitome of what my daddy directed me to look at. You know what I'm saying? James Brown was just so dynamic on stage. You know,
he was a beast.
I couldn't. I was just, I was flabbergasted over James Brown. I didn't know nothing else but James Brown.
He's influenced so many artists.
Yeah, so as a youngster, I'm talking about 3 years old, I was really just taken from James Brown. Like,
what artists and producers inspire you today that you would?
Well, I first want to give a shout out definitely to my first inspiration, which is my daddy, who taught me my first song at 8. At 6, 7 years old, I was doing Nutbush City Limit because my daddy taught me how to sing my first song, And then from that on, Marvin Gaye and all that. But as of today, watching all the young cats, if you want to just let me know who really can give me a thing to say, okay, these young cats really, you know what I'm saying, motivates and inspire me, I would say it would be a person like J. Cole, or when you say young people, younger than me, slightly younger than me, is Tank and people like that is still keeping R&B alive. My baby, she turned me on to J. Cole, just really, because I used to check him out, listening to some of the things he doing. Definitely Kendrick Lamar, I'm really looking up to them cats. And I love 21 Savage because he know how to sell a record, you know what I'm saying? And it's just certain people that, that really motivate me, to keep going as young cats. They still in the game. They in the game and doing what they do. And they doing it with a certain amount of, class and, understanding of who they come from, you know what I'm saying, and what they come from.
Let me ask you, how did you transform from performing? Because if I'm not mistaken, you produce beats. You started,
Yeah, I do.
How did that happen? I'm so used to seeing you perform.
The first thing was me was actually doing my own records. I would produce and tell Dexter Simon, shout out to him, my first producer that taught me how to get on the board and do it. But I would tell him how I wanted my beats. And he said, man, you produce your own music, so you might as well play it. So I started playing my own music, and no disrespect to the future wife, my ex-wife told me, when I was doing music, and she, we had our first child together, and knowing I had my daughter who came in my life when she was like about 1 and 2 months old, that she told me, hey man, you could do the music, but you got to make money so you can sustain our family, because that's all I ever wanted to do was music. So I switched gears and started doing hip hop production amongst, my peers. And after that, I started learning from the likes of people in Ultimate Sounds like Big Swift, how to make my drums punch, Dick, how to play my melodies correct and chording correct. Crazy C, who did many platinums with Method Man and remixes and stuff. He taught me how to do the remixes, how to sample right, and all that kind of stuff. So I had a onslaught of even younger producers as well as older people that's with me. Shouts out to Big Richard and Judge Fad, rest in peace, who own Ultimate Sounds, where you heard Knocking the Boots. That's where that song came from. It went on to blow up. Scarface, the first Scarface single, came from there, and a whole host, a lot of people. Destiny Child recorded there. That's how I got in, got to working with them. And just a number of people. Ultimate Sound forever be in my heart, but that's the place that really honed my skills to production, you know what I'm saying, and made me become one of the elite cats in the production in H-Town.
And your signature style, what do you believe sets your production style apart from others in the hip-hop industry, if any?
I'm going to let you want to embark on that one, because you kind of know. You go ahead, yeah, she says, you be saying stuff, go on, let them know what you feel.
No, I mean, you have a production style that kind of hits at the soul. It's not a surface beat, so you got those kicks and those punches that kind of hit you here, as opposed to you just feeling. You got a lot of people that got some fire beats, but they don't hit you here. And so, it's those 808. It's sometimes those little strings, those little details that he does that brings out, that you can kind of hear the Marvin Gaye genius when you see all the different layers that he puts on top of, what the original foundation is of that beat.
And they pretty much called me up.
I appreciate it.
Oh, she's in radio. That's why
so she understands. Yes, that ear.
Dynamic voice for radio, and she's programmed. She's actually a programmer. So she know how to program. Matter of fact, she's better than my movement to go into the new production age of what I'm doing now. But one of the things they call me is the remake king, because I actually can hear a sound and duplicate that sound to give you that feel that old record had without sampling. Like knocking pictures off the wall. That's played all over.
Was that your number one? Was that your first hit?
That's like my first big rap hit.
Okay.
That was my first big rap hit. First big rap hit I had, that I did the whole full production on the beat. And it was like that. It shocked me, if you want to know the truth. It actually shocked me that song blew up. Wow. I didn't like the mix or nothing. Yeah. Matter of fact, youngster hate this story, but I'm forever tell it. Youngster wanted a real avid, he was imprinted in the S.U.C. production. One of the production architects of the S.U.C. was this guy named Solo. Shouts out to Solo Jameson. Solo made Swing and Banging, song by ESG out here in Houston. Big record out this way out in the Texas area. Matter of fact, Drake did Gotta Do What I Gotta Do. He did vamping of that track. So at the time, that's who Youngster wanted to make that hit for him, because it already was on Screw Tapes as June 27th church tape for Big Demo birthday. So once the boss at the time told me, Den, shouts out to Den, he told me, say, hey man, I want you to do it because you will make it more club. He knew I could do more of a club crossover that'll send the song to not just the mix shows, what they was doing to Screwed Up Click, but also through prime time of the station, because of my work on Diamonds All in Your Face, which was a local big hit that brought Flip to the game. So when we done it, Youngster didn't like it. He said it was too fast, it was too clubbish, and so he just did like a 14 or a 12. If anybody listened to it, you could tell it's either a 12 or a 14. He didn't even do a 16 bar, which anybody know in rap, back then it was mostly 16s, you know what I'm saying? And so he ended up not finishing it. So we had to get Lil Flex to come in and do the second verse. A lot of people don't know that that's Youngster and Lil Flex on the second verse. So once we got through, it became a smash. And out of nowhere, it blew up. And I was shocked. I'm going to be honest. I was shocked. I wasn't really a fan. Everybody in the Screwed Up Click rapping, I don't mean no harm, but, I come from a different area. You know what I'm saying? So, Kiki, of course, definitely Fat Pat, definitely Pokey, Hawk, you know what I'm saying? But that was the ones I looked at as could really rap. But after the hit song hit, and my kids was actually rapping the verses in the back of the car. And that's the first time I realized what he was saying. And so once I heard what he was saying, like really listening to what he was saying from them, then it made me say, damn, Youngster really cold. You know what I'm saying? Like, but at first I was like, man, I'm like Youngster double OG. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so it was shocking. It blew me away. I was driving around and everybody, when I say the whole Houston radio, I got tired of this actual facts. And I make money every time it hit the radio. So I don't know why I was thinking like that, but I actually got tired of the song coming on so much that I would turn it off. Because I was tired. They were playing it like they'll play Knocking Pictures, then they'll play another song. Hey, look, we get 2 million requests for it. Boom, double play it again. And 5 minutes later, play it 10 minutes. Like I was like, nah, man, I was tired of my own record. That's a true story.
That's something.
Yep.
Riverside High School, changing of the guard, or something more sinister. When Riverside student Carlos Jones agrees to assist the school's guidance counselor in a plot to derail the stellar career of its beloved principal, a sordid culture of competitive politics, reverse racial discrimination, and inappropriate sexual behavior is revealed. The plan threatens not only to destroy the lives of innocent victims, but could also destroy the reputations of the proud inner-city high school. Pick up all 3 copies of this award-winning tale by author Demetrius Smith from Amazon.com. Scandal at Riverside High, Ruth's Revenge, and The Final Bell.
But that's a good thing, though. But man.
Right, yeah. It didn't seem like it at the time. What am I doing? Am I ruining America? You know, and all that kind of
stuff. I got a two-part question. Listening to you talk about all these artists, man, you know, how do you approach collaborating with other artists? You know, is it the same style? Do you approach them the same way? You have to mix it up with these different artists, they different styles, and you have to come at them a little different way with each one, or you just who you are across the board? I mean, how does that work?
I really need to get my PhD in social or, you know, therapy or whatever, you know, cause you actually have to literally switch it up when you deal with different artists. Some artists are way difficult than others. Some artists have egos that rightfully should have somewhat of an ego, and you kind of can respect it and go around it. And then you got the other artists who ain't did half or doodly squat of what you've done, nowhere near it, that has an ego, and you wondering why. So you deal with a lot. I've told many artists, and they came back years later. You know, one young man out of ATL, I said, man, you know, I'm working on your project. I can tell you're going to fall before it comes. You know, and he would tell me, what you mean? I said, man, he said, you don't know me? I said, yeah, I know 100 artists like you. You know what I'm saying? And 10 years later, he called me. I didn't know what was going on. He called me and he said, hey, man, he had just did a bid. And he told me, he said, man, Heime, I was angry at you, but I know now that what you said was facts. You knew who I was and I was going to be a crash dummy and burn. And you told me that, and I thank you. And he's doing real good now. He's got his own business. He's doing real good. He got out the music business, but he was really adamant with telling me he had to get in touch with me to let me know that, you know, hey, man, you know, so I deal with all type of artists, and it's hard sometimes, but then you have your good artists that listen, follow through on what you're telling them, and they become successful. And that's what makes me happy. I'm not really worried about the ones that not listening. I'm more in tune with the ones that love me. Like she told me, don't worry about the ones that, you know, had a problem and can't get over it. Worry about the ones that love you. I'm really thankful to those types of artists.
Like you got a good woman on your side, dude.
Oh, yeah. She's a 100. She know the biz. We learn every day from each other, and that's what you need. You need somebody that's, while you're in the pit, get in the trenches with you and help you dig that. No, my grandma, you know, Mama Bertha once always told me, say, if you got a wife and you're building a house and she can't tote the nails, take her back home to her mom.
Well,
we live on that.
What would be one of your most memorable, this is the second part to that question, by the way, one of your most memorable collaboration experiences?
My most memorable, I know that right off the bat. You know what? I have so many, and some ended tragic, but if I could actually say the most memorable that blow me away, that I can't never shake, it was doing when I had the squad, the Assassins, because I went in 2001. I started focusing on another avenue with a team of producers that was younger than me, and made sure we had a dynamic sound all the way around. And the day that I seen Pimp, right after getting out, he was like one day, the next day, the next day he did the song. But when we was actually filming the video and Pimp stepped out of his Rolls Royce and saw it was me, they realized it was me waiting on, at the bus for us to shoot the video, and he jumped out and ran over and grabbed me and hugged me and was just so glad to see me and said, man, I didn't know you was over this beat, because at the time I was working in another studio, and while my team, went over there and made sure Pimp got the track and did what they had to do. And he said, I didn't know, man, I didn't know. If I knew that, I'd do some extra, and I said, thank you, Pimp, and it was just such a beautiful thing for the CEO, the executive producers, the Boom, shout outs to Boom for being the video director, and all of them to see the love that Pimp had for his OG, being a part of the new age of music at that time, and And, he's actually on this. He's actually working with, on this with me. And he was elated like I was elated and proud of him. He was the same with me. So that's the most memorable moment. And I can really say in hip hop music for me. You know what I'm saying? I love Chad. Shouts out to Chad.
Definitely one of the greatest of all time, Pimp C. And I want to piggyback on that since we're talking about, greats like Pimp C. In the hip hop genre now, as it evolves, there are some rappers that I like, and there are some that I'm like, I don't know how they even got on the, the radio,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Internet stars, right.
What role do you think producers and artists play today in shaping, the future of hip hop?
Today, what I could say is thank God. Again, I'm going to thank God for definitely J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar and even people I wouldn't generally like. I even like the Migos, but the Migos did their own thing. I appreciate that. When you talk about, the people like that, that's setting a new trend. Yeah, we shape and reshape hip hop all the time. Sometimes we shape it for the worse, sometimes we shape it for the better. It always regenerates itself. But the thing that really gets me is, I like what some of them are doing. Even X Extension, I had to hear from a few people, young cats. He actually could rap. Mo3 was one of the coldest, but I was part of the building of the 90s hip hop, so I can't really knock them because we actually allocated the junk that went on in the hip hop later. You know what I'm saying? Like we actually motivated some of those actions. So I can't really say diss them, but I can honestly say this. When it gets to the point that you got little 11-year-old girls talking about certain stuff that they ain't got no business talking about in school, when you get to seeing an 11-year-old girl trying to twerk, or 5-year-old show their booty to the camera, or young daddy had to snatch his daughter up because, don't do that, So when you get to doing that kind of stuff, then that's when I have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with, Luke started the big time sexual revolution, and of course along with Too Short, it was a lot of us. We started the sexual. My song Is It Good. We started a lot of that sexual revolution, so we really can't knock it too bad because we are the fault of it.
And piggybacking off of that, what
it took a baby kind of, but y'all was woo woo, y'all saying BITCA, and I said, you right. You know what I'm saying? So
what
it ain't really.
What advice then?
Nothing, but I really.
What advice then would you give aspiring hip hop producers and artists trying to break into the industry? Along those same lines of changing that over sexualized.
First of all.
Atmosphere that's being put out, would you give them some advice today? And I appreciate the fact that you admit, hey, we kind of helped do that a little bit, But if I wanted to, if you were talking to your younger son now who's coming into hip hop, and he wants to go wants to go down that road of hyping sexuality and so forth, what advice would you give him today?
My thing is, I would tell them to follow the trend pattern of Kendrick Lamar. Because Kendrick Lamar, he came out to Houston and stayed about a couple of years because Houston was hot as fish grease by that time. And so when you got that kind of situation happening, you got to realize Kendrick was making stuff like Pour Up, right? Right? You know what I'm saying? So it was different. Now what he doing is a totally different thing. But back then, he kind of utilized, even though he probably don't do drink or don't do this or don't do that, he utilized it and got in the dough. Now he in the dough, he's able to make a change of style and whatever. Now you can hear the rest of what's going on. And I advise, this is the music business. And if you're trying to be a rapper, it's different than R&B artist, really. So if you're trying to be a rapper, you might have to utilize some of the stories you heard on the street or whatever. Make sure you fix it at the end, like what Pimp said. You could tell about, like I did, on some of my new stuff, I told about how I was raised around pimping, I'm talking about so I couldn't be, I could have been, but I was raised around the wrong type of environment for me to not be, so I couldn't really get the gist of what I was doing, you know what I'm saying? So now I tell people, you could tell your story, but I also tell that bad part that happened to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I could tell the story in my songs. You hear me tell the story that I was on the cut doing some of the things to come up, get on the streets. But I also tell the story of how me serving poison to my people ended up me hooked on the same poison. I thank God now I'm 35 years clean of crack cocaine because it ain't nothing but God. But at the same time, you got to tell the story, but tell the story of the good and how the bad happened. So that way it can fix, it can make them say, wait a minute, let me have a thought about it. Don't just sit up and talk about how you know what I'm saying, you did this, you got this going on, you got that going on. And especially if it's not true, you know what I'm saying, it's really have no validity in these streets with that anyway now. So, so that I would tell them, get in the game, but then switch and let them hear some real stuff from
That's
you.
Well said.
You know what? And I got to piggyback real quick and say, one good thing I would say is some advice that I've seen too in the radio. You got to stay true to who you are, and everybody got a balance of stuff. So when all your music floats to one side of your life, that ends up compounding on top of where you can't escape and get people to see the other layers of you or appreciate the other sides of you or the vulnerability side or the break. We can't appreciate it because you've gave us too much of this side of you. Right. And now this is all we feeding into. Right. So I would say that, for like you said, it's a business. Yeah. But we know right now it's a lot of sexual deviancy getting caught up in the business right now. So you really got to be careful about how far down the rabbit hole you want to sell yourself just to get on.
Yes, sir.
Get on, but but measure how you really about this game, because some stuff you're going to have to leave on the table and say no and just take the long way around. It's not you getting up so fast. Let us know that you can get taken down just as fast.
Well, thank you both for that. Words of wisdom, for real. Sure. Now, these last two questions I'm going to ask, and these will be the last. They're just personal questions about Heime. Reflecting on your career, what impact do you hope to have on the hip-hop genre? What do you hope to leave behind?
I hope to leave behind a legacy that a man that, went out there and, kind of presented the wrong things in the game, in the other world. And young people like C-Note and other artists that watched me and saw that, I was in that type of life and it made them become that type of person. I'm very glad to be knowing that I came back to another game and brought them to the forefront of that game and made them be able to lead that other game along so they can become the great stars that they are now. Whether I touched they personally like I did a lot of the Houston artists, or whether they just saw the moves that I made and the moves the other young cats that was out in the street was able to make in the music game and become productive citizens paying taxes and don't have to look behind their back doing a legitimate game that has, resonated through Houston rap economics, from here on, you know what I'm saying? That's my part. And I also am thankful to Mayor Sylvester Turner for giving me a letter of recognition for, my 50 years of involvement, the 50 years that I was a part of, 38 and 40 years that Houston was, put on the map with me as one of the forerunners of the top 5 cats who were putting out records of hip hop by that time. So I just that's my legacy. I want to leave that legacy that I was a straight shooter, straight laced, took care of my business, no jiving, and was real serious about what I do. And that's the love of music that I'll forever love till the casket drops.
Well, congratulations on that. And man, I really appreciate you being on here today. Jam, I'm gonna call you James, so I know you so well. But
it's all right, Jhiame Bradshaw here, y'all.
Tell them what's coming up.
Riverside, baby, what's up?
Tell them.
Kansas and Blair Hunt.
Tell them what's coming up now for you. Yeah. What can everyone look forward to for you now?
Well, the most important thing is the podcast. Make sure I say that. But the most important thing is this podcast we're putting together called The Beauty and the G, which my beautiful assistant and love will head this thing and direct this thing so we could have a forum that actually says entertainment and relationships, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that, that we could actually kind of give another side view and depth view of what a power couple truly is, you know what I'm saying, and sticking it out in the hard times and becoming, together in where we land. You know what I'm saying? She'll tell you this is a real thing for us.
Man, y'all can check out. He's got a new single that's about to drop in about a week. Yeah. Look at that old bitch.
Twerking in the club.
Twerking in the club. That's what's going. That's what's happening next.
That's what's happening. Exactly.
That's what's happening next.
Yeah.
And then you can check out. Stay tuned for the Beauty and G. But what is happening next is look at that old bitch.
Twerking in the club.
Twerking in the club. Yeah.
I love it. Well, look, man, thank you both for agreeing to participate, on the show today, man. You don't know how much it means to me, to see you doing what you're doing, man.
I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it, and my heart go out to the whole family. You know what I'm saying? My aunt Ann Mara, she was just a wonderful person. Your mom really touched me in all ways of conversation. She had told me when I got older that I realized what's happening in life. And I just want to send a shout out to her, and may she rest in heaven, you know what I'm saying? And Big Mama, Big Dad, everybody, and that we done lost, my grandmother, Mama Bertha. And, shout out to my mama out there.
I blow it every now and again when I go back.
Yeah, I see. You better blow Scotty too.
But I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
But let me say this, sir.
Yeah,
we invite all.
Shout out to Mario too.
Go ahead. No, I was going to read my last little line here. We invite all former and present Riverside, South Memphis residents who would like to be considered as potential guests on our show to kindly complete the guest intake form on our website. If the idea of sharing your story with our audience appeals to you, then go to www.riversideinreview.com. That's www.riverside.review.com. And I want to thank Heime Bradshaw once again for, agreeing to do this for me, man. My brother from another mother. Man, I love you.
That's right.
Man, I wish you nothing but the best.
God bless you, man.